I don't think I want to do power rankings anymore. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to an episode of podcast where you don't have to be Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. No, seriously, this is my hell. Grossi, and today we are going to be ranking the top 10 teams heading into week 5 of the NFL season, and it has been a whirlwind of a month. We'll be doing predictions tomorrow, but it is the worst start that I think I have ever had in my years of doing this. And the league has just been filled with so much chaos and upsets, and you think these teams are good, and then it's these teams. And the good news is that we're getting into October football. The football, theoretically, should be cleaned up a little bit. You're going to have teams be a little bit more disciplined, and we can get a better idea of really the identity of every single team. Because in September, it's sloppy football time, and yeah, heading into October, let's just hope the Packers are on this soon. And before we get to the top 10, we got to do some honorable mentions. First, we got to shout out the San Francisco 49ers. Nick Bosa having his best game so far this season. And even though it was not a clean game, the 49ers were still able to get a win over the Patriots. Then we got to shout out the LA Chargers, who were beat to hell. Justin Herbert is injured. They got injuries on the defense. Derwin James is suspended. Offensive linemen are banged up. And yet they were able to keep it pretty competitive with the Chiefs. Yes, they were shut out for 3 quarters after scoring 10 in the first, but the Chargers still put up a pretty damn good fight. And so because of that, I got to give them a tip of the hat. And then finally, even though they didn't score a single offensive touchdown, got to shout out the Falcons as well. Really just put Younghoe Koo over here. He should be at number 11 if there is a number 11. So yeah, you know what? Shout out Younghoe Koo, absolutely crushing it and drilling a game winner against the New Orleans Saints. You get an honorable mention. And starting off with number 10, you got the Washington Commanders. That's right, Wildflower. Break out the fine pointy stick, because tonight you are on the power rankings. The Commanders coming away with a huge win against the Arizona Cardinals. And right now, the Commanders have a franchise QB. Right now, the Commanders are atop the NFC East. And CJ Stroud, he was the chosen one last year. But this year, it seems like it might be Jaden Daniels.
That boy is our last hope.
No, there is another.
And I don't know how the rest of the Commanders season is going to go. I'm really curious to see some divisional games, them face off against teams like the Eagles, like the Cowboys. But the Commanders are playing really good football right now. Jaden Daniels, super efficient with the ball, and the offense is structured to support a rookie quarterback. Because we know that the Washington Commanders offensive line is not the best, but they've been running the ball incredibly well and giving Jaden Daniels that support that he needs, and so he doesn't have to throw the ball a cajillion times. However, when he's throwing the ball, guy is looking absolutely phenomenal. And I gotta give a shout out to the Commanders fans, because they have been waiting years and years and years, and the Dan Snyder era and everything that went wrong. And now, right now, heading into week 5, not only are you division leaders, but you are now in the power rankings. I think the division leader is probably more important, but you get it. Number 9, you got the Buffalo Bills. They are tumbling down the power rankings. However, not going to overreact. It's just one game, and I'm sure Bills fans are already blocking out that Sunday Night Football game.
I need to erase this from my mind.
Yeah, that was a big old yikes. The Bills got their ass handed to them by the Ravens on Sunday night. Derrick Henry running all over that team. The Ravens defense was just swarming to the ball, and everything just went wrong for the Bills. And when they tried to turn it around, they did a trick play, and then everything else continued to go wrong. And I'm not going to overreact here, even though there's going to be some folks who are looking at the Bills and going, hey, don't we see this almost every single season where the Bills get really, really hyped up, then they face a good opponent, and they get their ass kicked, and then we go, oh, we're doing the same thing over and over again. This year, I think it is a little bit different. Josh Josh Allen has been playing really, really good football. The run game has been really good, and the Bills' defense has been phenomenal over the past 3 weeks. Unfortunately, they ran into the buzzsaw that was the Baltimore Ravens on Sunday night, and the Ravens were just able to do things that the Bills haven't encountered yet. They had an amazing defense. They're running the ball really, really well. Lamar Jackson's a mobile QB, and Josh Allen was shut down by that Ravens squad. So sitting here right now, I'm not going to panic over the Bills. They got a big game against the Texans next week, so we'll really kind of see what kind of team they are. But heading into October, sitting at 3-1, I think things are still looking pretty good for the Bills. However, there is some caution considering how bad of a blowout it was Sunday night. And so for now, you stay in the top 10, but you're coming in at number 9. Number 8, you got the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers losing to the Indianapolis Colts. Whose fault is it? Probably mine, because I picked the Steelers to win. I'm so sorry. I thought this was done last year of cursing the Steelers, but apparently it's still going. And the Steelers are still in the top 10 because I still think they're a very good team. But there's a very specific reason why I think they're in the top 10. It's because for the first time this season, their defense was the one to let them down, and their offense was looking pretty solid. Justin Fields, he is developing very, very nicely in that system, and he just looks like he's improving week to week to week, which gives me a ton of optimism for the Steelers because 9 times out of 10, that defense is going to show up. And plus, I can't blame Steelers fans for being upset. They thought they were going to be playing Anthony Richardson, and instead, they were met with Joe Flacco once again.
We have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray, run amok, and flat out deceived.
And Joe Flacco, he knows how to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I think that this is going to be a little bit of an outlier game. I don't think that there's going to be too many teams that are going to be able to dice up that Steelers defense. If this becomes a trend, then I'm going to become concerned. But considering the offense is improving and the defense is already really good, I imagine they're going to be playing more complimentary football, even though it's probably going to be very ugly football, as the weeks go on. And so because of that, they remain in the top 10 despite the loss, coming in at number 8. Number 7, you got the Houston Texans. The Strouds. The Strouds, keeping it close with the Jaguars. But that's just so nobody suspects a thing. But it was a close game against the Jacksonville Jaguars on Sunday. The Jaguars were the only winless team in the league. I'm so sorry, Jaguars fans. And that final drive by CJ Stroud was pure art. Now, the reason why the Texans are a little bit lower right now is because I do have to call into question the quality of their opponents. They beat the Colts, they beat the Bears, who could go either way, and they got blown out by the Vikings, and now they had a close divisional game with the Jaguars. I'm not saying the Strouds are bad in any way, shape, or form. Please don't blow up my car. All I'm saying is that, again, there's some cautious optimism. And just like it's a big game for the Bills next week, it's a big game for the Texans as well, because these are two good teams going at it, and we're going to see which one comes out victorious. I imagine things will get better when Joe Mixon returns to the Texans, especially after that huge week 1 performance. But overall, Strouds, you're sitting in at number 7. And yeah, again, please just leave my car alone. It's been through enough. Number 6, you got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Buccaneers, kicked the crap out of the Philadelphia Eagles this past Sunday, allowing 0 yards in the first quarter. And Chef Baker, he continues to bake.
Someone cooked here.
Vita Vea coming back into the lineup for the Buccaneers defense was a huge boost. They really, really missed him. And considering that the only team the Buccaneers have lost to right now, and they're also on the power rankings, is the Lions, I'm feeling pretty damn good about the Buccaneers. They have a big matchup against the Falcons on Thursday night, and right now, the Buccaneers seem to be the front runners for the NFC South. That offense is efficient as hell. Mike Evans is just a god, and that defense, when fully healthy, is very, very formidable. I know that there was some panic last week after losing to the Broncos, and this week it was a really nice bounce-back game against a solid Eagles team. And the Buccaneers, you should be holding your head high. A great win for the organization, and let's see if you can get it done on Thursday night. Number 5, you got the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks not dropping a ton, and there's a reason why, because their D-line completely obliterated, out with injuries. Their offensive line, awful. And yet, they kept it pretty damn competitive against the Lions. If it wasn't for a DK Metcalf fumble, I think that game is going very differently. And listen, I got to give some props to the Seahawks because heading into this week, not a lot of people were talking about them. The media weren't really mentioning them at all. And they went into Ford Field in a hostile environment, and Geno Smith put on a show. And again, he was not perfect on the night. He made some mistakes. He threw the ball away on 4th down. However, with a really bad offensive line, a depleted defensive line, he made the best out of that situation. And Kenneth Walker is an absolute stud. So I think once they get healthy, the Seahawks are going to be a very formidable team, especially in the West where there's a ton of injuries right now with the 49ers, with the Rams, the Cardinals aren't looking too great. And so the Seahawks, they still get to be atop the division. And unfortunately, it was the defense that let Coach McDonald down.
I am sorry, my mentor. I have failed you.
And as I said before, as that team gets healthier, I think they'll be fine. Right now, they're leading their division, and they're still sticking at number 5. Number 4, I know they're 2-2, but damn, that was great on Sunday. You got the Baltimore Ravens. After last week's kind of meh win in which they were beating the crap out of the Cowboys and then the Cowboys rallied back, they came out on Sunday night and they dominated a good Bills team. Like I said before with the Bills, that defense was absolutely incredible. They were flying all around the field. Doesn't matter if it was trick plays, doesn't matter if Josh Allen, whether it was James Cook, didn't matter. The Ravens defense was there and never really allowed them to get a ton of momentum. Also, Ravens fans, how about that Derrick Henry, huh?
It's enough to make a grown man cry, but not this man. Get back in there, Tia.
And this was the kind of Ravens team that was expected after this offseason. Last year, there were a ton of expectations. They were the number 1 team in the NFL. They had home field advantage. They lose in the AFC Championship game. They go out and they get Derrick Henry. And if this is what this offense can look like with Derrick Henry, the Ravens are going to win a lot of football games. Throw on top of that, they're waiting for Keaton Mitchell to come back, and he is going to provide a huge boost for that offense, though Justice Hill is a very good running back. And this was just a very efficient football game. I know that there's some criticism that Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely are not getting any targets. However, they're still winning. And this was a dominant performance on Sunday. And if those guys get involved later as the season goes along, this offense is going to be even better. And so I got to see some consistency for the Ravens. However, the Bills were number 1 last week. They had a dominant performance against them. And because of that, they're in the top 5. Number 3, you got the Detroit Lions. Whew! Lions! That was some frickin' frackin' game. Jared Goff didn't throw a single incompletion on Monday night.
This motherfucker don't miss.
No, he's good.
That motherfucker don't miss, man.
He's good.
In the heat of battle, he don't miss.
No.
And he also caught a touchdown. A beautiful offensive performance from the Lions. Jamison Williams just being the deep threat that he is. David Montgomery being an absolute running back god. That one play where he is just trucking defender after defender. And then Jahmyr Gibbs, also really good. Oh yeah, they are stacked on the offense. And the Lions were finally able to exercise their Seahawk demons because the Seahawks, they just had their number for the past couple of years. They both throw defenses out the window when they played, and that was a very fun Monday night game. And even though the refs were all over the place, I got to give a lot of credit to the Lions. Their offense never really wavered. Their defense held when it had to, though they did allow a bunch of points at the end. But the Lions overall, I think, are a very, very strong team. I'm looking forward to them playing the Vikings because then maybe the Vikings will finally lose. But the NFC North seems to be the best division in football right now, and it is a ton of fun. So the Lions coming in at number 3, holding their heads high. Let's see how high they can go, though I hope my Packers go higher. I don't wanna. And coming in at number 2, you got the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, I belabored over this decision over and over again. And the Chiefs are still undefeated. But the difference is Mahomes is now without Hollywood Brown, Isaiah Pacheco, and Rashee Rice.
The gang's all here. Oh!
That's a lot of injuries. And the Chiefs offense has not been anything special these first 4 weeks. Travis Kelce was their leading receiver finally in this game. I know people have been wanting him to get the ball more, but this offense has been okay. Patrick Mahomes has not been playing the best football of his career, and yet, what have I been saying? They're still undefeated. And looking at the other side of the ball, that defense, good God, I know the Chargers are beat up, but they were dominant, shutting out the Chargers for 3/4 of that game, and that Chiefs defense does not look like it has lost a step from last season. Oh yeah, and they won a Super Bowl last year. And so I have no doubt that the Kansas City Chiefs are a very good football team. But the games that the Chiefs have had, I don't think the quality of football is there just yet. I'm putting a lot of that to injuries and it also being September football, and we all know they're going to make the playoffs, and from there, we know that they can go to the Super Bowl. However, heading into week 5, there is one more team that consistently is playing better, and so yeah, the Chiefs, you're at number 2. Do power rankings, they said. It will be fun, they said. This is not fun. I'm not having fun anymore. At number 1, for the first time in my 9 years of doing YouTube, you got the purple incarnation of Satan, the Minnesota Vikings. And let me get this out of the way. I gotta get it off my chest. I really did go back and forth here. I was very close to putting the Chiefs at number 1 because you look at the game on Sunday against the Packers, they had an insanely, amazingly good first half because the Vikings dominated every facet of that game. The offense was efficient as hell. The defense was swarming, causing turnovers. Special teams, they were kicking kicks and we couldn't do that. And so you look at that and you go, damn, first half, perfect football team right now. Second half, Packers made a valiant effort in the fourth quarter, but there are no moral victories in the NFL.
You get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
And for the Vikings, it got real scary real quick. You could talk about garbage time and all that, but that was a 1-possession game with 10 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter. And so that's why there was a bit of hesitation of putting the Vikings at number 1 because they did not play a complete game. That second half was really, really bad. However, I'm going to focus on the quality of play that they have had for the first 4 weeks of this season, the quality of the opponents that they have beat in the Strouds, the 49ers, and now the Packers. I have no choice but to give the Vikings the number 1 spot. And taking a look at this game, Sam Darnold continued to play very, very well. That first half, he was flawless. Had an interception to Xavier McKinney, and yes, it was an interception, and I don't care what you have to say about that, Satan. But Sam Darnold has been really, really damn good this year. Justin Jefferson on another level. You had a returning Jordan Addison who had a rushing and a receiving touchdown. Aaron Jones had himself a good day, except he didn't score and get to do a Lambeau leap. So, I know he did one at the end of the game, but that doesn't count. But right now, the Vikings, Brian Flores and that defense were looking pretty damn good in that first half. Second half, different story. Jordan Love had nearly 400 yards. But at the end of the day, the Vikings did what they had to do going into Lambeau. And when TJ Hawkinson returns, that offense should be even better. And so right now, am I sold that the Vikings are going to be this amazing powerhouse and are going to go to the playoffs and make a deep playoff run? I'm not. However, looking at the first 4 weeks, I got to give them a ton of credit. And they are at minimum a very good football team this year. Do I hope that they collapse? Of course I do. They're the purple incarnation of Satan. However, looking at the quality of play that they've had, the quality of their opponents, they are rightfully deserving of the number 1 spot. They should get better when TJ Hawkinson is healthy. And yeah, everything hurts. Lions, you were supposed to defend the division, and now the Vikings are at number 1.
This is my hell.
And so, just to recap, you have Satan at number 1. 2, you got the Chiefs. 3, the Lions. 4, the Ravens. 5, the Seahawks. 6, the Buccaneers. 7, the Texans. 8, the Steelers. 9, the Bills. And 10, the Commanders. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Who should be on this list? Who should be off of it? Let me know. You know, I saw me at TomGrossiComedy.com or at TomGrossiComedy, all social media, see down below. A big shout and thank you to all the patrons and YouTube members for supporting this channel. And thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go. I can't believe they're number 1. Number 1!